Okay, so I just want y'all to understand, here is white nationalist Tucker Carlson angry that Texas Governor Greg Abbott would not come on his show to discuss Daniel Perry. Watch this.
So you're not allowed to defend yourself against BLM rioters, even when they point a rifle at you. That's the lesson. But of course, that lesson is incompatible with justice. And so to his credit, the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, has announced that he will pardon Daniel Perry. It's a little more complicated in Texas. Perry is behind bars tonight, but the governor has instructed the Pardons Board to work on an expedited review. That's required by law in Texas in order for a pardon to occur. But he is pardoning this man. That is obviously the right thing to do. George Soros can't pay for people to put his political opponents in jail and then have a Republican governor ignore it. It's outrageous. But of course, Democrats think he should be convicted of murder because one of their voters got killed. Now, everyone involved in this was the same color, white. But of course, Greg Abbott is a racist for some reason for pardoning Perry. So you're not allowed
so here's
to
the deal.
defend
Come on. So here's the whole deal. Representative Jarvis Johnson of Texas joins us right now. So let's just deal with this. First of all, I'm native Texan. You're native Texan. First of all, anybody says there's no right to defend yourself in Texas is a flat-out fool and liar. We know that's just a lie.
Right on, right on. This ain't got nothing to do about Governor Abbott pardoning somebody because they are defending themselves. It's everything to do about somebody deciding to drive into a protest on purpose to instigate a situation to then say, oh, I was defending myself. It's all in his tweets. It's all on his social media. He planned this the entire time. And for Tucker Carlson to say, oh, he's a racist, ain't got nothing to do with racism. Ain't got nothing to do with racism. It's the fact that they have chosen to ignore their own party's line of law and order. There's no law and order. It's if you are against what we believe in, then we're going to be against you. If you believe in what we believe in and you break the law, we're going to defend you. The fact that Governor Abbott has chosen to say, hey, we're going to pardon you because this means stand your ground. No, it doesn't mean stand your ground, because in Texas, as the vice chair of Homeland Security, I look and hear bills every single day about Texans and their guns. And the fact is that they have chosen to say, when you wear a gun in Texas, it is not a threat. It is not a threat. It is no longer a threat if you have a gun on and you walk into any environment and you're having that gun, it's not a threat. So for this guy to say he saw someone with a gun that looked like a threat, that argument goes without.
Right. So the Black Lives Matter protester, he had, I think, an AK-47. He can do that.
Foster, the guy who got killed.
Yeah, Foster got killed. That's what he had. And here's the deal: Tucker's also a liar. The video's there in the from the police. Perry said that he did not point it at him. He said he shot him because he may have pointed it at him.
Right. Well, he saw somebody, that was his defense, because that's the whole stand your ground law, is that when you feel that your life is in jeopardy, you can say, oh, I felt like my life was in jeopardy. And he said it, and this is the thing, he prefaced it in his previous social media post that said, if someone ever approached me, all I have to do is say, I felt fear for my life, and therefore I decided to defend myself.
In fact, this is the video of him saying, this is the video where to the police interrogators, he literally said, I didn't want him, he said, I didn't want to give him a chance to aim it at me. Go play it.
Footage of Daniel Perry's police interview after he killed Garrett Foster was played in the courtroom during his murder trial. Former Austin Police homicide detective David Fugit was the one to conduct the interview with Perry. In it, Detective Fugit had Perry demonstrate how Foster carried his rifle.
How high did that barrel come up? Went up power about right there. Okay, was it aimed at you? I believe it was aimed at, I believe he was going to aim it at me. I didn't want to give him a chance to aim at me, you know?
And then what Perry did while he was sitting in the driver's seat.
I took a big investor. I don't want to shot, so.
Perry said he shot 5 times. He believes the whole encounter was less than 15 seconds.
See right there, Jarvis. I didn't want to give him a chance to aim at me, which means he wasn't aiming at you. And in the video, he showed the guy was carrying a gun. It was pointed to the ground.
The whole point about open carry in Texas has become a fallacy to all of these people. They use it when they want to. And I say this over and over again. Laws apply to everybody. They're only applicable to some. And so at the end of the day, if you are someone who is carrying a gun to defend yourself, if you're someone who is carrying a gun for the rule of law and order, but if you are against someone who wants to be racist, then you're wrong. And so his whole notion is a fallacy, it's a lie, and this is where he's gotten. And so this is how we've gotten to this point to where now a governor who has all information at his fingertips chose still to say something that he said just to pander to his base, to say, we're going to pardon him. We're going to ignore the justice system. We're going to ignore the fact that a jury of his peers, now you and I both know what his peers are. A jury of his peers literally deliberated and said he's guilty. And they didn't even have the social media posts. They didn't even have all of this information that we are getting now, but yet the governor, who is the governor of Texas, has this information at his hand, still said what he said. Let me just say this. I got to say this, Ro, because at the end of the day, every time in this country something happens that happens to be racist, for some unknown and strange reason, Texas has to one-up it. We saw what happened in Tennessee. Oh, Texas has to then jump right on and they have to do something more racist than somebody else. And so here we are. We're looking at the governor says, oh, we're going to pardon this guy. Although we don't even know the information, although the jury came back with this verdict, but we're going to pardon him. So forget the justice system. And now we see now we got this new guy, Brother Pearson, who is simply he spit at a cop. And now they're going to give them 7 years. They have to continue to push the envelope. They have to continue to push their narrative. They have to continue to push their racist ways. Because at the end of the day, the prosecutor said, we want to send a message. So my question is, Governor Abbott, what message are you sending to anybody who decides to take the law into their own hands? What message are you sending by simply saying, we're going to pardon you? We don't know all the information, although the jury, the judge, the prosecutor, and even the defense had all the information. We're still going to pardon you. They're sending a clear message.
Oh, yeah.
That's why in this state, the Texas Legislative Black Caucus is going to stand tall and stand strong. We're going to fight this to the very bitter end. And at the end of the day, bills that come on this floor, bills that belong to the governor, bills that belong to the Republican Party that continue to be racist, continue to create this divide, we're going to make sure that we fight them and pop those bills every single day, because the governor is sending a clear message. We want to be the racist state in the country. We don't care. We don't care if Governor Ron DeSantis wants to do what he does, then okay, we're going to do one up on him up. So that's what they're doing, and that's unfortunate what we're having to deal with in this state every single day. We're having to fight bills, we're having to fight laws, and we're having to fight people that want to give a pass to the white supremacists, to give a pass to those that want to inflict pain and death upon people who are simply trying to live. And to have a voice. When you look at the people who chose to say, we're going to stand up for what is right, we're going to stand up for what is just, we're going to stand on the front line. And then you got people like Perry who decides to say, I don't like the fact you're standing on the front line. I don't like the fact that you're standing up for yourself, and we're going to kill you.
Oh, absolutely. Representative Jarvis Johnson, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Brother, I always appreciate you, man. Keep doing the good work you're doing. Keep sending the message out, because your message is strong.
Will do. Thanks a bunch. Appreciate it.
Thank you, brother.
Folks, my panel, Michael Imhotep, host of the African History Network show out of Detroit, Matt Manning, civil rights attorney out of Corpus Christi, Texas, Kelly Bethea, communication strategist based out of D.C. I'll go to you, Matt, first. Matt, so here's the deal. This is from the Texas Tribune. On May 29, 2020, after George Floyd's death, murdered by a Minneapolis police officer, prompted nationwide protests, Daniel Perry sent a text message saying, "I might go to Dallas to shoot looters." 2 days later, according to records, Perry said in a Facebook message that when he is in Dallas, quote, "No protesters go near me or my car. Can you catch me a Negro daddy?" The other man replied. "That is what I am hoping," Perry said. In June, Perry sent text messages from an unknown area detailing bars closing and said, "The blacks gathering up in a group. I think something is about to happen." He also said, "I wonder if they will let my cut the ears off of people who decided to commit suicide by me." Now, again, court records, all of this comes from Perry's phone records and social media accounts. The U.S. Army sergeant also sent racist and anti-Muslim messages before and after Floyd's death in April 2020. He sent a meme which included a photo of a woman holding her child's head underwater in the bath with the text, "When your daughter's first crush is a little Negro boy." A year later, he messaged someone on Facebook looking for weekend work for active duty military. "Too bad we can't get paid for hunting Muslims in Europe." That's the person who Greg Abbott is trying to support, Matt. So share your thoughts about that and, of course, the ridiculous case out of Lubbock, Texas.
Dear Greg Abbott, we hate you. You're not going to get elected president no matter how many songs and dances you do to try to get the base. Here's the reality of it. Austin is my hometown. Greg Abbott has been locked in a war with Austin and Travis County for years, right? He's always talking about Democratic cities and the whole deal. This is a matter of Greg Abbott trying to, use a political opportunity that he thinks he has here in pardoning Perry. But one, he jumped out there way too early because the way it works in Texas that people don't know, in Texas we have two aspects of our trials. So you have a guilt and innocence phase, and then you have the sentencing phase. So the reason all of that stuff didn't come in about him being racist and wanting to hunt Muslims and all the abhorrent stuff is because you don't want to put that in front of a jury and prejudice them in their decision of whether he's innocent or guilty. That being the case, for the governor to come out and say he wants to pardon this person on stand your ground is disgusting, particularly because of how often Republicans are talking about the rule of law and letting the rule of law stand. Here, a jury of 12 people in Travis County heard all the evidence, repudiated the stand your ground charge, because what that means, Roland, is when you're in a jury trial, at the end of the trial, the jury gets a very long document called a jury charge. And that jury charge gives them the law. And it says in the state of Texas, you are entitled to stand your ground if you're faced with deadly force, and you don't have a duty to retreat. That's what stand your ground means. However, if the jury does not believe you're faced with deadly force, then they can choose not to, exonerate you or absolve you and find you not guilty on that basis. And that's precisely what happened in this case. So for Greg Abbott to immediately say he wants to pardon somebody at the behest of Tucker Carlson speaks more to Greg Abbott's insecurity and fear about his presidential chances than it does the actual, justice of it. Now, in the Larry Pearson case, two things are true at the same time in that case. The first thing that's true is in the state of Texas and in this country, we way over incarcerate people. We incarcerate people for too long. We're an over carceral society in a lot of respects. However, in this case, I think that people don't know the parole scheme, and I think that would put it into a better context. So the context here is Larry Pearson is what was called habitual felony offender in Texas. And if you know California's 3 strikes law, it's kind of like that. So what that means is specifically, if you have gone to prison 2 times before or more, any subsequent felony you get accused of is automatically 25 to 99 or life. In Texas, we use ranges. So you don't get automatically, a specific year. The jury or the judge, depending on who you elect to sentence you, has in that range. So when you're a habitual felony offender, it's 25 to 99 or life. However, in the state of Texas, at life and at 60 years, in both instances, you're automatically eligible for parole at 30 years if it's a crime of a certain class. This crime does not fit into that class. So I did the calculations, and in reality, Larry Pearson is more than likely looking at about 8 years in prison before he's eligible for parole, which is, don't get me wrong, a very long time for spitting on a police officer. It's still definitely unjust, but it's not 70 years. Those are really statement verdicts. Those are verdicts that prosecutors ask for from juries to show that, you know, they think that the jury should send a message, as she said, but not because he's actually going to serve 70 years. In fact, it's more likely that he'll serve between 7 to 10 years, depending on if he makes parole on the first time. But notwithstanding all of that, it's still an overly carceral society, and it's one where 70 years for a black man, for any person, should really be seen as abhorrent, particularly in the context of somebody being convicted of murder by 12 citizens in the most liberal county in the state, with Lubbock being the exact opposite. You know that, being from Texas. Out in Lubbock, that's a hanging county. Travis County is not. So for 12 jurors to find him guilty of murder and to repudiate that self-defense charge, that means they walked through the evidence and they thought that was appropriate. And I think Greg Abbott is just trying to get political points at this point.
What you have here, Kelly, is you've got these white conservatives. I don't care if the two people involved are white. You got these white conservatives who hate Black Lives Matter protesters, whether they be black or white. And all this is just trying to appeal to that white conservative base and gun lovers. That's what Greg Abbott is doing.
Yes, because at this, and I'm sure people know this, but you can be white and not be a white supremacist. And that is what the victim of this crime was. He was a white person who apparently was a white ally or accomplice to the plight of the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, the fact that Perry wants to pardon a bona fide racist for killing someone who's trying to do good, honestly, it just feels like typical Governor Perry. I mean, this is the same man who still stood 10 toes down and in his Second Amendment hoopla over children being killed. So the fact that he wants the devil out on the streets is no surprise to me. It is actually more of the same to me, that this man has no regard for human safety, for human life, and for human progression. Michael.
Yeah, Roland, you know, these are two both crazy cases. If we deal with the case of Daniel Perry, who shot and killed Garrett Foster, it looks like this was totally unjustified. Looks like the jury got it correct. And Governor Greg Abbott is a punk. Governor Greg Abbott is a coward. And he is bending over to little punk ass Tucker Carlson, okay, and he is believed that Governor Abbott wants to run for president. That's going to be a failed run. Number one, last president to serve in the White House from a wheelchair was Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and that was in a different time. That was in a time when you didn't have social media. Roosevelt couldn't even stand on his own without, you know, the help of other people, okay, but that was a different time. And he is tapping into the hatred that Fox News viewers and Donald Trump MAGA Republicans have for Black Lives Matter, and he knows he needs that base if he has any chance of getting the nomination. Okay, so hopefully, once again, this is an example of how elections have consequences when it comes to government. This is the power of a governor or influence of a governor. Secondly, with Larry Pearson, I'm glad that Matt was able to give context with this. I know that the minimum that Larry Pearson could get is 25 years in prison. It did seem like this was a prosecutor trying to be an activist at the same time and trying to get 70 years, which is just totally unrealistic. And I'm against abusing black women as well, regardless of who does it. I think it's even worse when a black man does it. But hopefully, he won't do anywhere near the 70 years. But this is a crazy case as well, coming out of Texas once again.
Well, we know what we're dealing with here, folks, and that is we're dealing with people who really want to have two ideas of a justice system. And so we'll see if Abbott keeps moving forward with this part, and especially with this new information that we now have. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
We feel the hidden impacts of climate change that land harder in Black, Brown, and Native communities.
Not many people talk about it because they clearly don't know our lives. But with President Biden's landmark infrastructure and climate plans, our issues are finally seen.
Removing lead pipes means we know our water is safe. Cutting carbon pollution helps our kids breathe easier. 1.5 million new jobs mean stable work in communities. The impact we need
Right now.